It is time for some 1v1 action. Indie Pride and I take to the field in a grand match of dragons, a dance of dragons, as it were. That's D-A-N-S-E. Come on, pun intended here. So I will be manning the vampire counts at the behest of a blood dragon, whereas Indie Pride will be on the Blessed Dread, the dark elves that lie across the field here. So let's go over our two armies here today. So I've gone with a nice smattering of skeleton warriors in our front line here. I want to be able to really absorb a lot of the firepower that's going to be coming out of the Dark Elves, right? With Dark Shards and with Black Ark Corsairs with hand bows, and a number of ways that you can pour on a lot of AP missile damage with the Dark Elves. I wanted absorbed with these skeleton warriors. We had just enough income for just a measly unit of zombies. Of course, guys, zombies are your meat shields. They're meant to just kind of tar pit things, hinder them, kind of slow them down. Then we have a back line, or I guess a true line, of 3 units of Grave Guard. So we've got the Sternsmen. The nice thing about the Sternsmen here are they are the Regiment Renowned units that have regeneration. That's a really, really awesome trait to have, on top of the fact that you can put Invocation of Heck. You've got the Mortis Engine. There's so many ways to keep these guys in the battle, and they can stay in the battle themselves naturally through their regenerative capabilities. Now, we went with 1 unit of Grave Guard with great weapons just to get that anti-infantry, that bonus versus infantry, and that AP, with a lot of the elite units that you see in the elf line. These guys are really great to kind of use to crack that open. Now, we have another unit of Grave Guards right there. Another unit of Grave Guard here. Now, I went with 2 units of shielded Grave Guards here, just in case we do deal with a lot of Dark Shards. They can actually help kind of put that down, or at least kind of counter that. Then on the flanks, we have 2 units of Skeleton Spearmen, the only other units in the Vampire Count roster, along with the Blood Knights that are anti-large. Now, the Blood Knights here, you see, they've got Frenzy, which is so huge. They've got anti-large. They don't have a huge AP characteristic, but they're still one of the strongest units in the roster, and arguably one of the stronger cavalry units in the game. Of course, there are some that outclass them, but it's still worth mentioning. Now, what Blood Dragon Vampire would I be? I'm sorry, what Blood Knight Commander would I be if I did not... Remember, this is unit of Dark Riders. If I did not take the Blood Dragon himself, the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord. Now, this guy is just a monster. In a lot of our 1v1 testing, our Lord versus Lord testing that Turner and I did, we found that the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord to be almost the ultimate combatant. He was killing Kolek, he was killing Archaon, well, which is, I guess, pretty easily, but there's really no one that on a 1v1 that he wasn't just dumpstering. He's got Heart Piercing, which gives him a grand 40% increase to his AP, a 30% increase to his charge bonus. There's a minus 30 to armor to deal with as well. Helm of Discord, so minus 27 to melee defense and minus 26 to melee attack. Or is it? I think there's one other ability. Sword of Anti-Heroes is plus 20% to AP and plus 20% to weapon damage. So, I mean, this guy is just a veritable powerhouse. Now, with the lore vampires, I typically only take Raise Dead and Invocation of Heck. In addition here, we've taken Van Hell's Dance Macabre. Now, the reason for that is it gives him an increase to his melee attack. With the huge drop in the melee defense, I want to be able to capitalize on that as heavily as possible, and this is one of the best ways to do so. Now, you'll see with this, I unfortunately forgot to take Raise Dead, and that is it's always an Achilles heel when you are playing Vampires account, so always make sure you are taking some form of Raise Dead, because it's just a great way to muck up a back line. Now, Honor or Death here gives us our increased 2 leadership and a whopping 11% to damage resistance, and can't forget, he also has the Hunger. So, I mean, this guy is just disgusting. He has Frenzy as well, too, right? And Frenzy. So, he's immune to psychology. There's just so much damage that the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord can do. Now, taking a look over here at Indie Pride's army, he has Lokir Fellheart on top of Maelstrom. Look at those. Look at the red blades of Ind. Look at those things. So sick. You can get those in the campaign. I will be releasing a video that shows you how to get those. But he does have some great abilities, right? He's got the Dreaded Duelist, which increases his melee defense and his melee attack. He's also... That's got noxious breath. Helm of the Kraken, that's what I was looking for, which replenishes his HP and gives him some melee defense. And lastly, he's got Merciless Slaver, which is an aura around him that reduces leadership. Indie Pride didn't really need to take this. He could have foregone it because I am undead. But anything to get to the crumble threshold faster, it never hurts. Now, as far as Indy Pride's army here, he's gone with a really nice little array of Black Orc Corsairs to deal with a lot of the kind of infantry that you will be dealing with when you fight against vampire counts. 2 units of spears, which is great to kind of counter a lot of the double and triple Terrorgeist play that you typically see on the competitive meta for the vampire counts. A unit of Blades of the Blood Queen here. Now these guys are the Regiments of Renown Executioners. They're quite awesome because they have, boom, Guardian. So a plus 18% to physical resistance in the aura around them, which is just so awesome. In addition, he went with 2 units of Black Orc Corsairs with hand bows. These are kind of arguably the better choice compared to Dark Shards. That's very dependent on the situation in and of itself, but you'll typically see these guys being chosen over the Dark Shards because they can fire wheels to moving, and they're still very strong with their ranged capabilities. They have a bit lower of a range, of course, but they're still strong nonetheless. Now, really, the centerpiece of any Dark Elf army, or especially this Dark Elf army, is the chill of Sontar, my bros. As you can see, this reflects the patch notes. This guy does not have Flaming Breath, but he still does have his Frostbite capabilities. This no longer does Flaming Breath. Frostbite, I mean. So, a lot of amazing things here. Of course, another takes its place is the portion of the Hydra abilities that allows it to regenerate, but it also has regeneration on top of itself, including Frost Breath and Frostbite. The normal Hydra does not have Frostbite and Frost Breath. It has normal breath, normal fire breath. As you can see, Indy Pride's already getting a whopping Noxious Breath here into these Graveguard, knocking a huge chunk of that life out. Let's go ahead and put this in normal play. We do have a Mortis engine that's going to help with the replenishment here, but as soon as that thing gets into combat, this battle reflects the 20% reduction to the Mortis engine effects that cause damage here, the Reliquary of Corruption here. So we do have to be mindful of that. But the Blood Dragon Vampire is already getting up onto that Maelstrom, onto the Lokir Felheart there, getting some early tar pit action going into the Black Orc Corsairs. And Indy Pride does have some kind of tomfoolery action in the background here with some Dark Riders. Now, I have sent some Dire Wolves to deal with those. There they are. The Dire Pack, as it were, kind of lopping through the woods. Trying to get some early play here on Lokir Felheart, because I know in this fight, India's not really tested the Blood Dragon. This is the very first day of early access, so I kind of like, oh, I'm going to trick him and completely dumpster his lord. So I'm trying to get that early engagement going there. But we do have the Chill of Sontar just making its way downtown through the zombies, holding fast and bum, bum, bum. Now you got some Black Orc Corsairs with handbows looking to get some action in here. Now, we've engaged across the line, got the Noxious Breath that just quite misses on those Black Orc Corsairs. Doesn't quite get a good purchase. And the Black Orc Corsairs here are ripping through some zombies. Now, getting some reinforcements of action of skeletons into these Black Orc Corsairs. And look, the Blood Queen cometh as the dragons duel. Let's jump on over here. Get this action going. Oh, there we go. Now here it is, the grand duel. And it looks, to be that the Blood Dragon Vampire is very outclassed. Takes a lot of initial damage on that charge. And additionally, just taking a chunk of damage here and there. Now, Indy Pride is backing up his lord here with some Black Orc Corsairs with handbows, which is going to be so huge. You can see the amount of damage that is being poured on. But now that everything's kind of ticked off, let's go ahead and slow-mo this. Ticked off, you've got Helm of Discord. Deadly Onslaught is now starting to fade for Lokir Felheart. But Heart Piercing, which of course it does apply that 30 armor to him, so you do have to be mindful of that. Dance Macabre, Invocation of Heck, Sword of Anti-Heroes, I already said Heart Piercing, as all triggered for the Blood Dragon. I should have used Heart Piercing on the charge and not this situation, but still, nonetheless, we deal with the hand we are playing. Now look at this. This has been 2 or 3 hits, and he's already at 50% health and dropping. Of course, my Blood Dragon is in a pretty precarious position, so we can't do this for too long, but I mean, to get a lot of really good early damage out in which was a very quick engagement, had a Noxious Breath been up, it would have been a really great target to use right there. Or Raised Dead in that fact. One Raised Dead on both those guys, which were combined, would have really kind of neutralized this range threat, and I would have probably been able to completely dumpster that lord. Lokir Felheart just kind of manages to get away there. Now, we have our Graveheart with great weapons jumping into the Blade Queen, or the Blade Queens. The Blades of the Blood Queen. We have our Grave Guard jumping in to reinforce them as well. With the Mortis engine getting that reliquary effect, that replenishing effect, the Blades of the Blood Queen were in a very handedly winning match there. They had the Chill of Sontar just smashing them apart. You can see that Lokir Felhart's kind of lining up for some better shots here. The Blood Dragon charge coming in, getting intercepted by Lokir Felhart as he jumps and prods his way through the line. You can see those spearmen trying to move to intercept into the Blood Knights, but the Blood Knights charge through the pocket, getting right onto the Chill of Sontar there. That was their main target. One of the only anti-large units in the army outside of the Skeleton Spearmen doing whatever they can. Good Invocation of Heck kind of kicking off, getting a nice heal across the line here. This is really the main pocket for me because you've got Graveguard here, I've got my Blood Knights, I've got my Mortis Engine. I've really got to keep this in as much proper health as possible. You can see across the line here. Oh no! Sternsman just getting cooked up with a raucous noxious breath there from the Maelstrom, or from Maelstrom, the dragon of Lokir Felhart. Lokir Felhart coming in here to eat up on the rest of those dire wolves that have just now finished, completely disintegrating them. But the Blood Dragon doth crave for blood, and it's important to note that him not being in combat is going to make it just harder for him. He needs to get in combat with something so he can get his hunger going, so he can really get his return on investment. He's quite a few points on his zombie dragon, so getting onto the Black Ark Corsairs, smacking them around with his tail is not a bad idea. But when the Chill of Sontar cometh, one doth who knows who knocks there. Oh god, jumping onto him. Dark Riders coming in here as well, but getting a little Invocation of Heck, jumping from unit to unit, kind of trying to push his way through the line. Blood Knights are mucked up in a very poor engagement for them though. Sandwiched between the Dread Spears. They are starting to break this unit of Dread Spears, but they still have to deal with, oh, the Blaze of Blood Queen, I guess, are not over there anymore. Ah, there they are. That flag jumped around on me. Oh ho ho. Noxious Breath that just quite misses Lokir Felhart there. Lokir will regenerate. He does kind of have that, the capabilities very similar to, not Kurt Hellborg, that's a different lord. Boris Todbringer is that he is going to be regenerating while he's not in combat. So it's a very good tactic for Indie Pride to just kind of keep him out of the fight. He now knows that Blood Dragon is vicious and it does quite a bit of damage. You can see what that Blood Dragon just did to those Black Ark Corsair handbows. Just no regard for the security pods. They're completely wrecking all the walls in their apartment, going to town. Now, the Mortis Engine here it always kind of ends up being that crux, that one thing that needs to stay the line. And it's starting to really, well, it's in a bad position. As you can see, a lot of stuff here is starting to really, not rally off, but route off. And we're getting our Dragon Lords kind of skirting around each other as they kind of jump on one another, going hog wild here. Invocation of Heck is tricked off again on the Blood Dragon. Uh-oh. What is going on? It is so cool. Man, so that was the first time I'd ever seen that animation. And maybe the second time Indie Pride had ever seen the animation. So we were freaking out. Uh-oh. Oh, it's so cool. I took some screenshots of it. It's so sick. And just look at that. I mean, the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord is in terrible shape here. He's being ripped apart by the Chill of Sontar. He's got 2 units of Black Ark Corsairs with handbows shooting into him. And he is doing just a number of suplexes into the snow by Lokir Felhart, which ends up ultimately killing the mighty Blood Dragon Vampire Lord. I don't care that I lost. That was so sick. Man. So, a real great fight there at the end. Indie Pride pulled it out. And ended up coming ahead of that fight. Let's take a look at that post-battle report here, guys. So, you can see that the Blaze of the Blood Queen, they did their job of 210 kills. They were mucking through Graveguard like it was butter. Then 128 and 61 kills in the Black Ark Corsairs, 101, 250. Their job was one thing: destroy the skeletons. Get rid of that early tar pit, and they did just that. The skeletons just did nothing across the board. I can really take a look at my comp, and I can say that taking less skeletons, maybe one more unit of Graveguard, probably would have suited me a lot better. My biggest... the biggest crux, the biggest issue with my army is that I did not bring Raise Dead. Had I brought Raise Dead, I could have tied down these Black Ark Corsairs with handbows a lot better, and having done that, or doing that, I would have then been able to use my lord to a lot more of a terrible advantage. I would have been able to hunt Lokir Felhart through those early portions of engagement, and probably even have killed him. If I had killed Lokir early, the fight would have been a lot easier in my favor, because I could have kept my Blood Dragon on those handbows and just really kind of mucked them up. Now, had I had, of course, more Graveguard as well, my engagements with my Spearmen probably would have been a little bit more ideal, but I'll be honest with you, this was a pretty rusty fight for me. There was one point, I didn't really focus on it, but there's one point that I think it was the Stearnsman or this unit with Graveguard was just sitting there, and I was like, oh shit. He goes, yeah. Indy Pros, yeah, your unit's just sitting there. I'm like, you bastard. So definitely hats off here to Indy Pride. Amazing fight, seeing the Dance of Dragons 3 times in a row there to an ultimate kill on the Blood Dragon Vampire here. But hopefully this gives you guys a really good idea of how strong that Blood Dragon Vampire is as a duelist. And also how strong Lokir Felhard is. He's no one to scoff at here. He definitely held the line and was really putting in quite a beating into the Blood Dragon in the really initial portions of that engagement. So masks off to the Lokir himself. But as always, guys, thanks so much for joining me here today. Hopefully you enjoyed this high-octane coverage of the Blood Dragon Vampire Lord and Lokir Felhard. Don't forget to like, subscribe, check out my Patreon, all that kind of cool shit, guys. But hopefully you'll enjoy the Curse of the Vampire Coast, which comes out here quite soon. But as always, guys, have a good one and take care.